When you're picking your topic for a writing sample, you want to make sure that there's an interesting story to be told. You have to decide on your subject matter. So, will you talk about a new therapy? Will you highlight complications or side effects? Will you compare alternatives? What problem are you solving for your reader? And how will you do that? So, you want to make sure that there's a story you can tell somewhere you can get them from point A to point B, and you're not just listing facts. You should choose something that aligns well with your niche. And so, everyone, when you're doing writing, you have a niche, you have an area where you're saying, I can write about this topic consistently. Certainly, you're able to write about other things, but when you're starting out, it's good to have a niche so that you can establish yourself. You could say, I can write about this. And you know that because I've written these pieces, I've done this work. And so you want to stay within yourself, stay within your zone of genius where you know what you're talking about. And that allows you to speak with a lot more confidence. And then again, your story should be more than just a series of facts. You want to really have a perspective. You want to have something that you're teaching throughout this time. So you really want to be able to shape the story in a way that is interesting to your reader and interesting for you to write about. And then when you're writing, you really need to find a sweet spot in length, especially for a portfolio piece. When you're writing for a client, they'll tell you the length, they'll tell you what the expected word count is. But for a portfolio piece, you want to keep things fairly concise. And so you want to pick a story that you can tell succinctly. It is important to stick to that because prospective clients really don't want to read an excessively long sample. They want to get an idea of what you can do. They want to know that you can express ideas well. They want to know that you can express them concisely. And they want to know that you can tell a story in a limited amount of time. So the hope is that you're producing a writing sample that they could read without having to commit a significant amount of time to it. They just want to see that you have the skill set there to do the writing. And so this length also allows you to focus on your core messaging. So it really kind of pares things down. It's very easy when you're writing, especially writing about a topic that you know about, to write in a way that is a information dump because you're excited about the topic. You have a lot of information that you think your reader wants to know. So it's very, very easy to just be like, oh, this neat thing, this neat thing, this neat thing, without having an overriding story to tell. And so the length kind of helps shape your story because it tells you you need to pick certain things to really get through to your reader that will be important to them. And then when you're picking a topic, make sure there's adequate support for the topic. And it all goes back to citations and references. So the best medical writing samples are not opinion pieces. You don't want to put pieces in your portfolio that say, I think this, I've done this, I consider this. Those are not strong writing samples. You want to put pieces out that are backed by facts. And so we're going to avoid person writing in our portfolio samples. This means that we're avoiding those I think, I say, I think, I consider, whatever type statements. But it also means that we avoid saying things like, let's move on to this or let's consider. And those are traps that people often fall into when they're writing, is kind of taking those shortcuts to move on to the next paragraph or move on to the next idea by using let's. And you generally want to avoid that because it really does weaken your authoritative voice that you're trying to maintain. All statements, medical claims must be cited. So whenever you're citing a fact, you should have a citation. References need to be high quality. And so that means books, journals, drug monographs can be perfectly fine, primary sources, but definitely avoid things like WebMD, Wikipedia, blog style websites. Some websites can be okay. So university sources, some government sources, the CDC, that sort of thing, can make for good references. But you really have to look with a critical eye and make sure that they're not opinion pieces that you're referring to. But saying this doesn't mean that your topic can't be controversial. Controversy can make for a good topic, but you have to approach it in the right way. As long as you can support the things that you're saying, you can take on something that has some controversy or that hasn't been fully resolved yet. Like I would like to, or I have just read an article on norepi versus vasopressin and septic shock. It's an unresolved issue in veterinary medicine. And so which one should be first line is still an interesting topic and still a topic for debate. And you can write about that with a lot of good sources.